There are places in the American Southwest where people refuse to drive after dark. Places where radios suddenly die, where footprints appear beside your car even though no one is there. And deep inside the Navajo Nation, there are stories whispered only in private. Stories about something that watches from the desert. Something that can mimic voices, take the shape of animals, and follow you home. Tonight, you'll hear 4 terrifying encounters from people who claim they came face to face with a skinwalker. Welcome back to Kiso Channel. Tonight's video is not folklore, not campfire fiction. These are chilling accounts inspired by stories shared across the Navajo Nation, places where ancient beliefs still linger beneath the silence of the desert. And if you're watching this alone, maybe keep the lights on. Because according to Navajo tradition, speaking about skinwalkers too much can attract their attention. Story 1, The Thing Beside the Fence. In 2018, a Navajo ranch worker named Daniel was staying alone at his grandmother's property near Chinle, Arizona. The land sat miles away from the nearest paved road, no neighbors, no streetlights, just empty desert, stretching forever into darkness. Daniel had spent most of his life there and knew every sound the desert made at night: coyotes, owls, wind moving through dry brush. But one night, he heard something different. A whistle. At first, he ignored it, but then it came again, closer, perfectly human. Daniel stepped outside with a flashlight. The cold air hit him immediately, and that's when he noticed something strange. The sheep near the fence weren't moving. They were frozen, staring into the darkness. Daniel slowly aimed his flashlight toward the fence line and saw a figure crouched beside the wooden posts. At first, he thought it was a large dog, but then it stood up, too tall, far too tall. Its body looked twisted, almost wrong, like its limbs bent backward, and its eyes, bright yellow, reflecting the flashlight like glass. Daniel said the creature stared at him without blinking. Then it smiled, not like an animal, like a person pretending to be one. Terrified, Daniel backed toward the trailer, but then the thing spoke in his grandmother's voice. "Daniel, come here." Every hair on his body stood up, because his grandmother had died 3 years earlier. Daniel slammed the trailer door shut and locked it. Outside, footsteps circled the home, slow, heavy, crunching through gravel for nearly an hour. But the worst part came later. Around 3 a.m., something scratched the window beside his bed. Daniel forced himself to look, and standing inches from the glass was the creature. Its face stretched unnaturally long, eyes wide open, smiling. The next morning, he found footprints around the trailer. Not animal tracks, not human, something in between. Daniel never stayed on that property alone again. Story 2, The Woman on Highway 491. Locals along Highway 491 have reported strange sightings for decades. Many refuse to drive it after midnight. One woman named Angela shared an encounter that still terrifies her years later. In October of 2021, Angela was driving home from Farmington after visiting family. It was nearly midnight. The highway was empty. No headlights behind her. No cars ahead. Just darkness. Then suddenly, her radio exploded into static. Angela reached to turn it off when she saw movement near the side of the road. At first, she thought it was a deer, but as her headlights swept across it, she realized it was running on 2 legs. The figure kept pace with her car, 40 miles an hour, then 50. Its arms hung too low. Its body looked thin and gray, almost hairless. Angela said its head turned toward her window, and she saw glowing orange eyes. Then the thing smiled. Panicking, Angela slammed on the gas. The speedometer climbed past 70, but the creature stayed beside her, running effortlessly through the desert. Then, it vanished, just disappeared into darkness. Angela thought it was over, until she looked in the rearview mirror and saw it crouched in the middle of the road behind her, watching, still smiling. Angela drove the remaining 20 miles without stopping. When she finally reached home, she noticed deep scratches along the side of her truck, 3 long marks, like claws dragged across metal. To this day, Angela refuses to drive Highway 491 at night, and according to locals, she's not the only one. Story 3, The Knocking Outside the Hogan. A young man named Tyler spent part of his childhood living with relatives deep inside the Navajo Nation. One winter night, during a family gathering, Tyler woke up to knocking outside the Hogan. 3 slow knocks. At first, he thought it was another relative arriving late, but then he noticed something strange. The dogs weren't barking, they were whining, hiding under a truck nearby. Tyler's uncle immediately blew out the lantern. The entire Hogan fell into darkness. No one spoke. Then came another knock, louder this time. Tyler whispered to his cousin, asking who was outside, but his cousin only stared at him, terrified. Then, a voice came from outside the door. "Open up!" It sounded exactly like Tyler's aunt, except his aunt was sitting beside him. The knocking continued for nearly 10 minutes, sometimes soft, sometimes violent enough to shake the walls. Then the voice changed, it became deeper, animal-like, almost growling. And suddenly, something began running circles around the Hogan. Fast. Too fast. Tyler said it sounded like something huge sprinting through the dirt. Then came scratching against the walls, long nails dragging across wood. Children inside the Hogan started crying. No one moved. No one dared open the door. Finally, sometime near dawn, the sounds stopped. When sunlight appeared, Tyler's uncle stepped outside with a rifle. Around the Hogan, they found tracks, human footprints, mixed with coyote prints, appearing and disappearing randomly in the dirt. But what terrified Tyler most was finding handprints on the outside wall. Handprints placed nearly 8 feet high. Tyler says his family never discussed that night again. But even now, he refuses to talk about it after sunset. Our final story comes from a former EMT who worked near the Four Corners region. He requested anonymity, but according to him, this encounter ended his career entirely. In the summer of 2019, he and his partner responded to a late-night emergency call from an isolated home outside Shiprock. The caller sounded panicked, barely able to speak. All dispatch could understand was, "There's something outside." When the EMTs arrived, they found a small house sitting alone in complete darkness. No porch light, no movement, just silence. Then they noticed the livestock pens nearby, completely empty, broken open from the inside. The homeowner finally opened the door. He looked pale, shaking, and kept repeating the same sentence, "It wants me to look at it." The EMTs searched around the property with flashlights. Nothing. But while checking near the back window, one of them froze, because standing beyond the glass was a face, too pale to be human. Eyes completely black, wide smile stretching unnaturally across its face. The EMT said the thing tilted its head slowly, still staring directly at him. Then it tapped the window. The EMT jumped back and shouted for his partner. But when the flashlight beam hit the window again, the figure was gone. Then came screaming from outside the house. Not human screaming, animal screaming, loud enough to vibrate through the walls. The EMTs rushed to the ambulance, and that's when they saw it. Standing beside the road, tall, thin, covered in patchy dark fur, its eyes glowing in the headlights. The creature took one step forward, then another, before suddenly dropping onto all fours and sprinting into the desert faster than either man thought possible. The homeowner later abandoned the property completely, and according to the EMT, neither he nor his partner ever worked another overnight shift in that area again. The Navajo Nation is filled with breathtaking beauty, but also ancient warnings. And whether you believe these encounters or not, many who live there will tell you the same thing. Never whistle at night, never answer voices coming from the dark. And if you ever see glowing eyes watching you from the desert, do not approach them, because sometimes the legends are watching back. If you enjoyed tonight's video, subscribe to Chiso channel, turn on notifications, and let me know in the comments what terrifying story we should uncover next. Until next time, stay out of the dark.